The apparel industry, Adidas versus Skechers. Apparel industry increasingly rely on migrant workers who may not know the cultural norms and language of the country in which they're working, which limit their ability to understand their rights in the host country and how to report grievances. Factories often use recruitment or employment agencies to hire their workforce. This exposes workers to the risk of exorbitant recruitment fees, rendering them vulnerable to situations of debt. This is further compounded by low wages in the sector. Work often takes place informally. Workers may not have employment contracts in place and therefore lack legal protection. Today, an average of 68% of the global workforce in the apparel sector is female, who are often low-skilled workers from rural areas and more vulnerable to exploitation, as work often takes place in countries with high levels of gender discrimination. In 2018, the Know the Chain organization published a benchmark on apparel and footwear industry. In it, the question addressed was, are the largest apparel and footwear companies in the world doing enough to eradicate forced labor from their supply chains? To solve this question, companies, policies, and processes were assessed on the following themes: commitment and governance, traceability and risk assessment, purchasing practices, recruitment, migrant workers' rights, worker voice monitoring, remedy, wages, and benefits.
Look at the two organizations. Adidas was founded in 1940 with its headquarters located in Herzogenaurach, Germany. They were initially specialized in designing and manufacturing sports clothing and accessories. The company also produces bags, shirts, watches, eyewear, and other sports and clothing-related goods. Over the years, Adidas has produced over 1.1 billion sports and sport lifestyle products and generated a worldwide sales of 23.64 billion euros. On the other hand, Skechers was founded in 1992 with its headquarters located in Manhattan Beach, California. Through its agreements from licensing, the company offers branded watches, bags, eyewear, and additional merchandise. Skechers has its products available in more than 170 countries, and there are more significant opportunities for continued expansion worldwide. Skechers recorded an annual revenue of 4.60 billion in 2020. Code of conduct. Adidas' belief is that through sports we have the power to change lives, and that sports offers a path for improving health and happiness while fostering empowerment. And also, to unlock the power of sport, we must embrace the spirit of fair play, and the fair play code of conduct is their game plan. On the other hand, Skechers was founded on inclusivity, diversity, respect, and entrepreneurial spirit. Skechers' philosophy are treating all employees, stakeholders, and consumers with respect and professionalism, non-discriminatory policy, anti-harassment policies, sexual harassment, safety, and then workplace security and violence prevention. Adidas' work ethics include ethical awareness. In this, employees are expected to show integrity and are expected to be fair. Skechers is committed to a higher standard of legal ethical conduct, namely compliance with laws, rules, and regulations, conflict of interest, confidentiality, insider training, and special obligations to directors and senior officers.
Comparative code of conduct. Both Adidas and Skechers have extensive and detailed codes of conduct in which the values and ethical standards of the company are recorded. Both companies have chapters in common that refer to ethical issues. First, there is the issue of non-discrimination. Adidas encourages its employees to behave respectfully and prohibits discriminatory practices. Adidas 2020. Skechers prohibits discrimination following the law. Skechers 2021. On forced labor, both companies reject any form of forced labor, including suppliers and business partners. Regarding child labor, Adidas strictly prohibits child labor in its company and its suppliers. Likewise, Skechers ensures that its suppliers meet the legal minimum age to work. Lastly, about workplace safety, Adidas provides safe work environment and complies with all local health and safety laws and regulations where it operates. Skechers focuses workplace safety on avoiding violence and stresses that any employee who behaves in a threatening or violent manner toward another employee will be subject to disciplinary action up to and including termination.
A living wage is defined as the minimum income needed by a worker or employee to meet their basic needs. In the textile industry, low wage is an apparent problem. In fact, in several countries where our garments are produced, wages are too low to live on. As a result, low-wage workers are prone to a cycle of economic vulnerability and perpetuate poverty. Additionally, they have increased stress, low self-esteem, and a greater tendency to engage in unhealthy behaviors like smoking. Note the chain has accessed the performance of 43 of the largest global apparel and footwear companies in the efforts to create transparency, help identify and share best practices with the intent to encourage companies in the industry to improve their standards and procedure. In their last benchmark review, Adidas remains the top scoring company in the apparel and footwear industry that continuously shares the government's mitigation plans and actions they are taking to address poor labor policies and practices. On the other hand, Skechers remains at the bottom of the list. Please see the side comparison in the slide.
Working conditions. Working condition refers to the working environment and all existing circumstances affecting labor in the workplace, including job hours, physical aspects, legal rights, lighting, equipment, amenities, and responsibilities. Employees should always work in a comfortable, conducive work environment to remain productive. Adidas is aware that sometimes workers in the factories would sometimes face risk from fire, accidents, chemicals, and toxic substances. The company philosophy is to ensure that the workplace standards are explicit about the need to protect workers from these risks and ensure they have a right to adequate lighting, heat, and ventilation, as well as access to suitable sanitary facilities. The company realizes that taking a structured approach is the best way that the suppliers can ensure workers' health and safety. However, they also require them to establish a health and safety management system that adheres to the standards and procedures of the International Standard OHSAS 1801. Adidas company remained diligent in supporting suppliers to establish health and safety management systems by producing guidelines and training modules that help to meet the requirements of the workplace standards. And the company established an academy to increase the pool of qualified environment, health, and safety managers. However, compared to Adidas, Skechers' environment rating is very poor. This company does not use eco-friendly materials. There is no evidence the company has taken any significant action to reduce or eliminate hazardous chemicals or minimize textile waste.
Child labor can be defined as the use of small children for employment in industries or businesses. The exploitation of children affects their physical, mental, or social development. Children around the world are routinely engaged in paid or unpaid forms of work that may be harmful to them in the developing countries. 1 in 4 children aged between 5 to 17 years are engaged in labor that is considered detrimental to their health and development. In a report released by Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy, it talks about how Skechers hurts its California supply chain workers. It exposes the company's troublesome labor practices apparel and footwear industry to undertake in order to reduce the cost to meet consumer needs. There is a rise in cheap labor markets using temporary and contract labor. The workers have been found to be at risk of forced labor in the picking of cotton, harvesting of rubber on, on cattle ranches used to produce leather, in the farming of silk, and in the manufacturing of apparel footwear. It is critical that the private sector engage more deeply and significantly through supply chains. Increasingly, the apparel supply chain workforce is made up of women and migrants who are more vulnerable to exploitation due to their social status. Work being done in the apparel and footwear supply chains is characterized by weak rule of law, prohibition of or limitation on unionization and collective bargaining, informal homework, illicit subcontracting, low wages, and forced overtime. Comparing companies like Adidas and Skechers, Adidas ranks as the first place in demonstrating the disclosure of its approach on child labor. The company provides information how they manage the forced labor risks in its supply chain. Over the years, Adidas has made significant improvement and achieves a higher score than any of its peers on the themes of recruitment and worker voice. On the contrary, Skechers has not taken responsibility for making sure that its contractors not only comply with the law but also provide decent wages and benefits, which helps the workers and their families' needs are met. It is time for the companies to step up their efforts against labor and to address the risks in these industries. Accountability and trust building are the key ingredients that are being required to understand these risks. The companies need to provide information for workers that is easily accessible in the public domain. It is important that diligence approach should be incorporated and address the underlying conditions to ensure positive outcomes for workers.